Hello, today we're talking Star Wars, we're talking Rebel Moon, and we're talking DC as we always do. Let's talk about Star Wars. I was in the cinema in 1999 to watch The Phantom Menace, along with a bunch of adults and die-hard Star Wars fans and their children in a special screening. It was like it was yesterday. There wasn't an adult in that cinema. There wasn't a die-hard Star Wars fan who wasn't underwhelmed or even disappointed with The Phantom Menace. We all expected a lot more. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like The Phantom Menace and didn't like The Phantom Menace. I liked it very, very much. The pod race was so exciting and so fun and so utterly what Star Wars should be. The lightsaber choreography, the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn was exhilarating. There was a lot of great character beats. The film worked. McGregor was a great Obi-Wan, and basically Liam Neeson put this film on his shoulders and he carried it because he's such a goddamn fine actor. It worked for me. But of course I wanted more. Of course I was muttering under my breath, is that it? I remember someone sitting next to me saying, where's the Han Solo type of character? Where's the personality we had in the original trilogy? It wasn't there. Because Jedis are not supposed to have personalities. They're supposed to be robotic monks that do as they're told, have given up sex, love, everything, right? So you're not going to get those gags. There were a few gags in the film, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought Portman was brilliant as Queen Amidala. I loved the whole concept of her being like this kind of Indian queen, even the castle and everything. It looked very, very Indian based, and I really liked that. George's arc in the film was brilliant, but it wasn't what we expected, but I didn't hate it. I still loved it. I was just a tad underwhelmed and surprised with what we got. But a lot of people did hate it. But it wasn't meant for us. It was meant for the children. And the children loved Jar Jar Binks. They laughed with him, not at him. Fact, I still haven't thought of a name to call the people who actually wrote to the actor who played Jar Jar to abuse him. What a brilliant, talented man. Now, my opinion of Jar Jar was nothing. I didn't hate him. I didn't think he was the best thing ever. Sometimes I actually did laugh with him. He was okay. He's another C-3PO or R2-D2. It was in the mold of that. So I never understood why people hated Jar Jar so much, but there you go. This film was made to bring a new young generation into Star Wars fandom, because even then, George was planning Clone Wars. He wanted a new generation to sell the merch to, so they could watch Clone Wars. That was the idea, and it worked. Now, Zack Snyder pitched the Star Wars idea that moves away from the Skywalker saga, introduces new worlds, new characters. That's something Star Wars fans said they wanted for a very, very long time. Once as a studio you say, nah, George, it's a bit too risky to bring you in and have you consulting and even co-writing a Star Wars sequel trilogy, so we don't want you to do that. Even though Iger promised that they would use his sequel trilogy, which they didn't. But once you decide not to do that, you can't go ahead and make your own sequel trilogy anyway. There's only one person in this universe that understands the Skywalker saga, that story. It's George Lucas. Once you decide not to go with that, you've got to do something new. In my opinion, it was wrong not to allow George Lucas to finish off his saga. It was a mistake, and they're still paying for it. But Snyder had a new idea. That was the best way to go at it. And before you say to me, Snyder's this, Snyder's that, would Snyder be any worse at running Star Wars than Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and J.J. Abrams, a creative I have a lot of time for because of Alias, because of Lost, because of Fringe. The man is a genius, but he's made mistakes in his career since then. It's as simple as that. Snyder came in with the right idea to move away from the sequel trilogy. or should I say move away from the Skywalker saga. Now, we'll never know how successful or unsuccessful that would have been. But by going at Star Wars with brand new characters, people have got nothing to compare it to. They can compare it to the previous Star Wars media and say it's better or worse or the same. But it's very important that you develop characters for Star Wars. Star Wars should look stunning as Rebel Moon does, but you need personality. It'll be very, very interesting if these characters in Rebel Moon leap off the page. But we must remember, Rebel Moon isn't Star Wars. We don't need Star Wars level characters. They're going to be Zack Snyder level characters. Zack Snyder, it's his story. He wrote this story. He wrote the screenplay along with another writer. So it's totally, really his vision. But I think Snyder would have been amazing doing a Star Wars movie, TV show, whatever it was. And I think moving away from the Skywalker saga was exactly what Star Wars needed. Because all Star Wars Disney are doing now is milking the shit out of the Skywalker saga in a bad way. It's not working. None of their series are working. The latest one, Ahsoka, is a snore fest. What a surprise. It's more of a woman's world, and it's not very interesting. And, you know, Star Wars is in neutral now because they don't have someone as artistic and as visionary making Star Wars as Snyder. Because that's what George Lucas was, a visionary. So you need a visionary to replace a visionary. But unfortunately, Zack Snyder hasn't been forgiven for Watchmen. Now, personally, I don't think there's anything to forgive. It's an outstanding film. This is why they went against Man of Steel and BVS. That's why they did. Because they never forgave him for Watchmen. Because unfortunately, as Man of Steel says, people just don't like what they don't understand. They fear, they hate what they don't understand. And it's funny how that line keeps on echoing when we talk about Zack Snyder. I'm utterly excited for Rebel Moon, and I'm gutted that he didn't get to do his Star Wars pitch. But here's the truth. He would have ended up in the same mess he did with DC and WB. Because when you're working with other people's IPs, you have to work under their rules and make the changes they want you to make. Rebel Moon is Zack Snyder's baby. Now, people are asking, why has he said that it's important that he has R-rated supercuts for Rebel Moon and the sequel? This is why. Zack Snyder hates 2-hour movies nearly as much as I do. I think it's my OCD. When I hear a film's got a 2-hour runtime, I'm boring, even as a kid. I mean, I think it was once I saw JFK and Titanic, and they were like 3-hour masterpieces. And once I used to watch 2-hour movies, I just felt, once I saw them, I loved them if they were good movies, but once I saw the runtime, I always used to get put off of movies. It's a weird, illogical thing, but I think that Zack Snyder has so much to show of these movies, and why shouldn't he be allowed to do director's cuts? You know, the more Snyder content we see, the better. Now, let's move over to DC, and I've got an article to read for you because of the Blue Beetle failure. We had a good laugh yesterday. They were blaming a tropical storm for the failure of Blue Beetle. So that means this week it's going to make $100 million domestically, right? Because there's no tropical storm. You are a fucking disgrace of a studio. Going back to Rebel Moon, he pitched Rebel Moon to WB Snyder on multiple occasions. This is the dumbest studio, no matter who runs it. DC Conspiracy Theory claims Superman's new costume has already been leaked by James Gunn. While Superman Legacy won't start filming until 2024, a DC Universe conspiracy theory is floating around that the new suit may have been revealed. A new Superman Legacy conspiracy theory suggests that James Gunn may have given a glimpse of the new costume in a recent social media post. Actually, as we're talking about James Gunn, let's talk about something else. He had a picture of a Labrador with basically a dog with like a Superman emblem on it. So it looked a lot like Krypto, what Krypto wears in the comics and animation. So that was very, very interesting. So is that a hint of how Krypto will look? Now, is Krypto in Superman Legacy? Who knows? Following one of James Gunn's latest DC Universe updates, a new Superman Legacy conspiracy theory has sparked speculation that the DC Studios co-CEO may have given a glimpse of the new costume. The Man of Steel is getting reimagined once again as David Corenswet is set to portray Clark Kent, aka the titular hero in Superman Legacy, which is being written and directed by Gunn. The reboot will play an integral role in Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters as DC Studios attempts to run a new interconnected franchise across film, TV and video games. A very, very difficult thing to do. Sorry about this. With Superman Legacy being one of the hottest DC Studios projects, fans are constantly keeping their eyes and ears open for any new updates that may emerge about the DC Universe reboot. Whether it be casting announcements, even though it is on pause due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, down to any behind-the-scenes details, there is a lot of anticipation for Superman Legacy. Now, this is very interesting. We just got our first Superman Legacy sneak peek of a suit. Now, this is an account called Superman Legacy Update. So, this is interesting. So, let me just show you. Let me take this out. I don't know if you can see this, but if you can see it, you can see the back of the cape has the Superman emblem, which is very, very, very interesting. So, is that going to be the new costume? I don't know. Now, to be clear, I don't mind the Superman emblem being on the back of the cape. Some people have got very passionate opinions on what the Superman costume should look like. As long as they don't destroy the costume like they did with Superman Returns and made Brandon Routh, an over 6 foot god, look shorter than he actually is, and they actually do a good job with the suit, making the man look as muscular and as super as possible. Despite the fact that Superman Legacy is not set to start filming until 2024, a new theory suggests that a glimpse of the costume may have been revealed. Gunn recently shared on social media an adorable photo of their art department dog. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Nora, who was wearing a Superman cape, which led to instant comparisons to Krypto the Superdog. However, Legacy Updates took a closer look at the image that Gunn posted and zoomed into the corners, believing it was actually a first look at Corenswet's Superman suit. Now, I think it could be the cape that Corenswet is going to wear. So very, very interesting. When it comes to adapting Superman from the pages of comics to the big or small screen, the costume is always one of the most imperative aspects. Over the decades, the super suit has had its fair share of evolution that goes anywhere from how the S-Shield is designed to the removal of the trunks, which continues to be a big debate in the Superman fandom. For the DC Universe's Superman, there are numerous reasons why designers have to get the design absolutely right in Superman Legacy. Here's the problem. One man's costume being right is another man's costume being wrong. You ain't gonna please everyone, and that's the problem. So you just got to do your own thing and do the best that you can. Time will tell what design DC ends up going with for Superman's suit. But needless to say, it will be a big moment for the DC Universe with Judiana Makovsky attached as the costume designer, who has worked on notable projects such as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. It will be exciting to see how she and her team bring to life the latest version of Superman's iconic suit. Assuring that Superman Legacy still starts filming in early 2024, DC Studios will hopefully reveal a first look at Corenswet in the costume shortly thereafter. Yeah, very, very interesting because of the SAG-AFTRA strike. I think that, if it's still going on in 2024, I think that could be a very big issue. And obviously, if both the writers' strike and the SAG-AFTRA strike is going on, if the writers' strike is going on, it really doesn't matter. But if the actors' union SAG-AFTRA strike is still going on, then Superman Legacy will obviously be delayed. And if you want an update on that and what's going on with the negotiations, I can tell you that it's not very good and there's no way forward right now, but things could change very, very quickly. And let's hope that they do. It seems like we've been talking about the Nightwing movie, potentially directed by Chris McKay, for a very long time. Regrettably, it sounds like now it's been cancelled by DC Studios. Look, I don't think this thing was ever happening, and I think this was cancelled a very long time ago. So let's see what Screen Rant have got to say about this. DC's Nightwing movie reportedly cancelled. Update comes 5 years after DCEU film was announced. After being stuck in development hell for 5 years as part of the DCEU, Warner Brothers live-action Nightwing movie has reportedly been cancelled. The Nightwing movie has reportedly been cancelled by Warner Brothers. The cancellation is part of a trend in which multiple DC movies and TV shows are being canned, which we already know. Oh, my phone's stuck. Great. Oh, we're so amateur here, you just can't get the stuff. The Nightwing movie finally gets an update, but not the one many are hoping for, as the DCEU film has reportedly been cancelled by Warner Brothers. While a new connected universe is in the works at DC Studios, 2022 and 2023 has definitely not been easy for long-time fans, as multiple movies and TV shows have been scrapped. The Batgirl movie and numerous DC TV shows, including most of the Arrowverse, got the axe. Well, we're not going to worry about that, with some of the cancellations being due to the new DC universe and others because of financial troubles at Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, the truth is that, this is a new universe. Arrowverse has had umpteen shows, been going for around, 10 years. It was time for that to end. The Batgirl thing, look, I don't know what to say about that. All I can say is from what I've heard, and this is what I've heard about, look, just to get into Batgirl quickly, because they keep on talking about it and complaining about the cancellation. I heard that Brendan Fraser's villain in the movie was a star turn that distracts from a mid-movie. And that's what I've heard about that. And I can believe that. Brendan Fraser is a great actor. He has great personality. He deserved his Oscar this year. But it sounds like it was a very mid and woke movie. Anyway, while James Gunn's DC Universe has announced multiple movies and shows as part of Chapter 1 of Gods and Monsters, there are still updates emerging about their projects that were in development prior to the launch of DC Studios. One such movie was Nightwing, with Dick Grayson as the titular hero, and the Lego Batman movie filmmaker Chris McKay directing it, was put into development 5 years ago. So who said it was dead? So basically, we had a fan here. No, we had Home of DCU, who are the worst source for anything. I hope Chris McKay still gets to work on his Nightwing movie. Humberto Gonzalez replies, the project is dead. Now, Gonzalez is sometimes right, he's sometimes wrong, but it's pretty obvious you don't have to be a scooper to say the project is dead. The project's been dead for a very, very long time, by the way. And there's been rumours that it's not been dead, but I believe it has been dead probably since Geoff Johns left the DCEU. As there have been a few developments lately, Home of DCU shared on Twitter they had hoped the project would still come to fruition. Unfortunately, it turns out Nightwing is one of the latest scrapped DC movies, as the Rap's Humberto Gonzalez wrote in response that the project is dead. At the time of this story's publication, neither McKay nor anyone at DC Studios or Warner Brothers Discovery have commented on this project. So it's very, very interesting. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Gonzalez is a great guy or someone that's reliable. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. But he's also someone I don't particularly like. He blocked me a long time ago because I don't suffer these idiots gladly. And the bias in his reporting for Blue Beetle was also very disgusting. Anyway, we continue. Even though Nightwing is reportedly now not moving forward, there is still an opportunity for the character to appear in the DCU. One of the movies that Gunn and DC Studios co-CEO Peter Safran revealed in January was Batman the Brave and the Bold, which will explore Bruce Wayne's relationship with his biological son, Damian Wayne, aka the Fourth Robin. One of the key aspects revealed during the January announcement was the various members of the Bat family will likely be part of this story in one way or the other. Given that Damian will appear, this implies this is a DC universe where most of Batman's allies are already established and active, meaning someone like Dick is probably operating as Nightwing in this timeline. Having Dick, the original Robin, appear in Batman the Brave and the Bold would be more than fitting, as he gets to witness Bruce now being the father of his own flesh and blood. That can help create an intriguing contrast for Dick and Damian, who each have their own father-son relationship with the Dark Knight. If Nightwing is included in Batman the Brave and the Bold, DC Studios could always develop a spin-off movie for Dick. Whether that would be for Chapter 1 or potentially Chapter 2, given Nightwing's massive popularity, it would be shocking if DC Studios doesn't have a live-action movie or a show for him within the next couple of years, especially as the character just finished a 4-year run on Titans, where he was played by Brenton Thwaites. For now, time will tell how long fans will have to wait until they finally see Nightwing on the big screen in the DC Universe. Well, of course they're going to cancel a great director like Chris McKay's vision for Nightwing. Of course they will, because it's good. It can make money. So of course the dumbest studio in Hollywood are going to cancel it, because James Gunn wants to do his own thing. Look, I get it. James Gunn's got the keys to the kingdom. He wants to do his own thing. But this thing has been cancelled for a very long time. It's the same situation as the Black Superman movie by Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams. Why don't you just say it's canned? What are you afraid of? You're not going to make this movie. It's clear. The only thing that they're waiting for really is to pay off Abrams so he can totally leave the WB lot. We all know that, and until they do that, Abrams and that Superman movie is still there looming all of us and WB. So I think Chris McKay is a great filmmaker, a great artist. I think give him, allow him to do his own Nightwing movie, maybe, in DC Elseworlds, because clearly Gunn wants to create his own Bat family and his own Bat universe, and I understand that. But let's be absolutely clear. I said this the other day, and I'm going to say it again. The Brave and the Bold is nowhere near development, casting, or writing a script. Nothing is. He's already confirmed that Creature Commandos will officially be set before Superman Legacy, and that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing these projects. Can James Gunn make a success of an interconnected DC universe? Can he make great content? Of course he can. He's already done it with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy that's made a hell of a lot of money. He did a great job on the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. He's capable of pulling this off. It doesn't mean he will. There's just too many chefs spoiling the broth at WB. There's too many people interfering with what he's attempting to do. Now, I believe he could pull it off. I'm not saying he will, but he could pull it off. But when you're testing, when you're gambling away your integrity by lying about the quality of the Flash movie, basically we've seen what a nightmare the Hamadaverse was. It's not James Gunn's fault. The Hamadaverse was a piece of shit and unsellable, but that's what one of the jobs that James was brought in to do, sell somebody else's shit. And it hasn't worked. That's not James Gunn's fault at the end of the day, but he has been interfering with aspects of those movies, either because he thinks he can improve them a little bit, but probably more accurately, but because he's not doing a fresh reboot and it's kind of linked to the DCEU, he has to mess around with these movies. That shouldn't be the case. The case should be a fresh reboot, but he's not doing that. So what he's done is people are questioning his integrity and his honesty. And that's the problem here. And everyone was looking forward to Chris McKay's Nightwing. Nightwing is a popular character. I assume eventually when Brave and the Bold is in development, and if it's a big if, because if Superman Legacy fails, there's no DC Universe. Let me repeat that again with bumper flashy stickers. If Superman Legacy flops, there will be no DC Universe. It will be over. It will be dead before it started, dead before the creation of man. And that is the fact. They have to make Superman Legacy the best introduction to DC Universe, the best retelling of the Superman myth. James Gunn is capable of doing this. We just have to wait and see if he can do it. Now, right now, I have my doubts, but who knows? He may be able to pull it off. James Gunn teases new DC Universe roadmap. Now, this did pique my interest, of course, with the leaking of the Superman costume, so-called leaking on the Krypto, on the dog, on the female dog, and now this kind of world map, and the timing with the Blue Beetle flopping is obviously part of a distraction. But it's an interesting one, and when things pique my interest, I'm going to talk about them. So yes, James Gunn teases the new DCU roadmap. Gotham City, Metropolis, and more cities will be spotlighted. With James Gunn and Peter Safran now in charge of DC Studios, fans are expecting a fresh new approach to the DC Universe's movies and television shows. As we wait to see their plans fall into place in the next few years, you hope, with highly anticipated projects like Superman Legacy, Creature Commandos, and Waller, Gunn just teased one interesting aspect of his new universe. In a recent post on Threads, Gunn revealed that DC Studios is creating an incredibly detailed world map for the DCU. While there's no telling if this world map will just be used internally or eventually released to fans, well, that's the thing, isn't it? You can say you're releasing a world map, right, and never show it to anyone. As I say, it's a distraction. Interesting, he went on to Threads to do it. I'm not on Threads, but it's interesting he didn't do this on Twitter. It's very difficult for him to be on Twitter because he's got so much hate on there, and it's difficult for him to post. I understand that. He's also on Instagram. Now, I'm interested in getting information from James Gunn about this new universe, even though I have doubts about it, that I've criticised him. But I'm still a DC fan that wants DC to thrive, and I want DC to thrive under him if possible. It could show where Gotham City, Metropolis, Star City, and other corners of the universe exist on a geographical scale. What is on the DC Universe slate? As Gunn and Safran revealed earlier this year, the initial DC Studios slate for Gods and Monsters will include movies for Superman Legacy, Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Swamp Thing, and The Authority. It will include the HBO Max television show Waller, Booster Gold, Lanterns, Paradise Lost, and an animated Creature Commandos series. If you look at the MCU, there are very few traditional superheroes, Gunn previously said on the DCU's approach. There was never a guy with a secret identity until Spider-Man in the MCU. Their Cap was turned into a soldier even though he wears a mask. Iron Man outed himself at the end of the first Iron Man because they don't want to deal with the whole secret identity stuff. But there is a bit more of a fantasy element to DCU because there are these larger than life superheroes, and for me, there's Superman and Clark Kent. They are two different characters, and you have to find a way to deal with them that's as grounded as possible within this world of DC. One of the things that I love about DC, that excites me about DC, is that in a way it's another alternate history. It is Gotham City and Metropolis and Star City and Bloodhaven, all these different places in other reality. It makes it a little bit like Westeros in some ways. I love it in that way. I love that we get to create true world building in DC. It isn't just we're throwing some superheroes on Earth. I think right now that's one of the key differences. So yeah, so he's looking, or he's teased, a DC world map. Now, I do find that very, very interesting and exciting. I want to see this world map because I want to see Bloodhaven, I want to see Star City, I want to see Metropolis and Gotham City, because a lot of fans always debated, you know, the distance between Metropolis and Gotham City, because they are separated by water, by the way, by a river or whatever it is, right? And we saw Clark and BVS actually get on a ship, a boat, to have to go to Metropolis. That was brilliant by Snyder and Terrio, because that's something that's factual towards the comics. So I definitely want to see this. This type of thing definitely excites me. But I do feel that there's not much of a roadmap at the moment. I think right now you will see Creature Commandos, you will see Waller, and you will see Superman Legacy. But it stops there if Superman Legacy fails.